What does it mean to be spontaneous? Clearly, it doesn't mean speed. Well, I've seen enough to know just how how truly extraordinary delusion can be. It's it's an amazing, bewildering force. Truly, truly astonishing. And and it has a tendency to worm its way into the best laid plans and the best intentions, and well, anything that you could think or describe. And yeah, so having seen and experienced lots and just plenty, plenty of delusion and illusion in my life. I have little stomach, little desire to pass that on. Yeah, and although these talks don't aim for, only speaking about truth in the strictest possible terms. Still, there has to be some kind of baseline. And so the baseline, where that comes in for me, is only speaking from silence. Why speak from only from silence? Well, I trust. I trust silence. I trust decisions made from silence. Yeah, what ice cream I get at the store is probably not going to have a big impact on my life, on the world. So may not pay quite as much attention standing there in front in the ice cream aisle. There's lots of living that just wants to flow and to take place naturally. It's not room. There's not always room for, really stopping and listening to silence. Yeah, what do I mean by spontaneous? Action born from silence. Action born from stillness. Action directed by stillness. This is a high standard. And obviously, not every moment of everyone's life needs that kind of standard. We don't need that standard when the next step, the next moment is obvious. When there's total clarity about what to do next. When you're already doing it before you even have time to think about it. And if we want to live in a way that is awake, if we want to feel awakeness, this today I'm just calling it silence. Silence we have to value silence, prize it. It's not the last place we go. Yeah, it's easy, and I may drift into religious kind of terminology here, because the language of devotion works best to convey this experience. Yeah, a long time ago, when I was getting sober, and I was in a rehab, there was a couple that worked there. And they used to talk about how they lived their lives. And if you've ever gotten sober from some kind of major addiction, you'll know that it has a big impact on relationships, and also that relationships are between human beings is one of the best ways to lose one's sobriety. And so they like to talk about how they structured their lives. And the structure of their life was, to simplify it a little bit, was God first, or a higher power, whatever you want to call it. Then themselves. Then their partner. And in some ways, I think partner stood in for children, family, right? Everybody else. And if we were to talk about it without the religious language, right, it would be truth first. Self, other. And truth and self are, of course, they can be very intertwined, depending on what perspective we're looking from. And the perspective that can differentiate between truth and self is a perspective that understands that truth often conflicts with self. And when I say that, I mean that self contains big self and small self. Self is broad. And truth can often be quite disagreeable to small self. So that's how that's how one could have a hierarchy where truth is valued above self. And this devotion to truth, which pulls us beyond the limitations and confines of self. Self that includes big self, small self, all the all the parts of a human being. Devotion to truth. Devotion to something bigger than. I am devoted bigger truth than simply wanting to feel safe and comfortable and at ease, peaceful. Did I say safe? um, hmm. Some people grasp this quite intuitively and tend to be very successful in life because of it, right? Like, I'm thinking of people who are willing, have learned, have really grasped the idea that fear is not a limitation or something to be avoided, but to be moved towards and through. So it's not that they don't experience fear, but they've learned and grasped on a very deep level that they can move through fear. They'll be fine. They'll experience it, but they'll be fine on the other side, and they'll get to experience something new. And if they move through that fear often enough, it will diminish and diminish and diminish. And sometimes people can be quite successful at this in the exterior, and not as successful inside. They can learn to overcome obstacles on the outside. How does one become devoted to truth? Well, yeah, I'm guessing you've already found some of that for yourself. And it's also a practice. Can also be a practice. And like any practice, it's best practiced when it's not a big deal. When there's no high stakes. It's much easier to listen when things are quiet than it is when the house is on fire. And there's a posture. Listening has a posture and an attitude, which are simple, humble. Listening is devotion, humility in action. Oh golly. This recording's gotten quite long. It's probably because it's filled with silence. Is it possible to listen to the silence? And obviously there's all kinds of sounds. Because it's not that quiet here. But is it possible to listen to the real silence? Not with the same intensity as we listen to the words, but with the same closeness. Can we stay with it in the sense that every answer, every action is for that moment, this moment, and this moment. Life does not know life does not know much about making rules. What it does know is responding in a new and unique way, moment to moment to moment. So can we listen and learn to act in such a way that each moment is a flower, a flowering, and a death. Each moment flowers and dies. Or as we say in my house, never eat yesterday's burrito. Blessings on you listening.